Hey everyone, Dylan Schumacher, Citadel Defense, and we are back with another edition of Tactical Book Review. And today's book is a little bit off the beaten path for us. This is Chivalry, an ideal whose time has come again by George of Cappadocia, or the Chivalry Guild. I think it's an online Twitter Anon account. I follow them on Twitter. They're a good follow. And we're going to dig into this book a little bit. So right out the gate, this book is probably one of the best, I'm going to call it a philosophy book, that I've read in the past 5 to 10 years, possibly ever. And I was a philosophy major in college. So I feel like I have some authority to be able to say that. The reason that I say that, and the reason that I really like this book, is that it does a very good job of particularly understanding and communicating and enunciating, shall we say, a couple of the problems with our current culture in Western decline. And he's saying, look, here's the problem, and he lays it out very well throughout all 5 or 6 chapters of this book. I think it's 6 chapters, 5 main parts maybe, so maybe 6 chapters including an introduction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chapters, not including introduction and the conclusion, okay? Does a great job of laying out the issues and then issuing or prescribing, shall we say, his remedy, right? And when we say chivalry, when he says chivalry, he's not talking about opening doors or giving up your seat on the bus or whatever. Certainly some of that, but it is that's not all chivalry is, right? It is a much grander, much more deep calling of the male Western soul, shall we say. And he does a very good job of calling you up into that, right? So the way he breaks this out is he has 6 chapters, and each chapter covers one of the virtues of chivalry, right? So you have prowess, courtesy, honor, generosity, loyalty, and faith. And he pulls a lot of this from a C.S. Lewis quote, which I don't have on hand, so I'm going to butcher it. But something to the effect of like, look, knights, men should be ferocious on the battlefield, gentle at the dinner table, and it should all be governed by a trust in and belief in God, right? Jesus Christ, the one and only Savior of the whole world, right? And that is the framework that he builds out throughout this book. And he talks about each one of those. Well, what is prowess? What does it mean to be of martial skill and principle, right? What is honor? What does that mean to carry honor in your life, right? And he goes through all of these things. First 3 chapters are definitely the strongest chapters. And after that, the last 2 chapters I just don't think are as strong as the other 2. But that being said, you should absolutely read this book. Very well done. I think the next thing that Mr. George of Cappadocia here should do is he should write this in a children's book. And I think there should be a version for like young boys. I'm talking like 2, 3 years old, like a picture book for a kid's book. And then there should be like a version for like 10 to 14-year-olds, something in there. And there should be some versions so that as your sons grow up, right, you can introduce the principles early, and then you can do a little read, study along, Boy Scout kind of guide thing with your son. And then once they're over 14, whatever, they can just read the real thing, right? And I think that having this broken down for younger men, right, little boys who are growing into men, and helping them nurture these virtues as they grow would be an excellent second and third addition to this book. So, Mr. George of Cappadocia, if you ever see this, I would go ahead and tell you to write those other 2 books because I think they'll be very well done and very well received. Last thing I will say is that kind of elephant in the room here, I am a foaming at the mouth Reformed Baptist person, right? And George of Cappadocia here is a Catholic. Now, there could be some issues with that, but to be honest, because there's a whole chapter on faith, and I was super curious to see how that would play out once we got there. But to be honest, it's mostly a non sequitur. I would say his faith chapter very much focuses on practical things you can be doing, like fasting, for example, which, hey, I'm a fan of fasting. Fasting is good. We should all be doing that. And much less, if at all, on theological positions. If I ever get to talk to the author, there are certainly some theological questions I would have. However, me being a Bible-believing, Jesus-loving Christian person, and him being a Catholic guy, I don't think that this book really creates a barrier or draws a hard line there or a problem. Maybe he would say different, I guess, but I didn't feel that as the reader, and I was super interested to see how that was going to go. So no matter where you're coming from, I would still tell you to read this book, because the idea of a ferocious warrior on the battlefield and who is a gentleman at dinner, governed by faith in God, is a really good concept. And I would just go back to King David in the Bible, probably a different sermon, probably a different video. But all that to say, I think the principles laid down in this book are very good. I think it's very much worth the read. I think it especially speaks to younger men who have not ever been called up into anything. And this gives them something to pursue, something that's valuable, something that is much more worthy than just day-to-day materialism. I think one of the other reasons that I really resonate with this book is that the author and I seem to have gone through a similar arc, character arc, where we think that at one point we thought, libertarianism, free markets, etc., that's really good and that's going to fix a lot of things. And then at some point, I woke up, I would say the author kind of woke up and said, wait a second, godless libertarianism is partly why we're here. This isn't helping anything. It's just amoral garbage. And I very much resonate with that feeling. And I think that feeling is captured in this book, just in different words. So this has been Chivalry, an ideal whose time has come again. I would highly recommend you grab it. By George of Cappadocia. Do brave deeds and endure.